Well, welcome back, PowerHouse people. Welcome. We are here at the PowerHouse Fence Show.
We are. We're live in studio.
Live in studio, live at 5:03. That doesn't really rhyme. Whatever.
Fish.
Cool. Welcome to episode 41 of season 2. What software we use? Part 1.
Yeah. So I've seen a lot of people in there's a forum. Can't remember what they call it, the community something that the AFA has. And then, of course, on Facebook, I've seen a lot of people asking about software here recently. And so I thought, hey, we'll just hop on here and we'll start the process and we'll go through all of the stuff that we use.
We did a little bit when we were kind of talking about our process organizationally. Yeah. I think I kind of got into the programs I was using, but we'll get down into the meat of that here in just a minute after these prerequisites. Welcome to the show. This show is brought to you by MFC, Memphis Fence Company, to be exact, MFC Manufacturing, Simpalo, and Morton Fence Consulting Group at fenceconsultinggroup.com.
That's it. You got it.
That sounds good. There should be a link in the description for Tony stuff. There's an event coming up that you'll be in attendance at. Is that correct?
I will. Me and Kenny.
Yes, Dan and Kenny. Oh, the secret has been revealed.
Yeah.
It was pretty mysterious there for a moment.
Yeah,
Someone will be going.
Wasn't real sure what we were going to do. And, in typical fashion of me or us or whatever, I finally got it sorted out kind of at the last minute.
Right.
So if you do want to go, I think there's still some spots available at the event, but that hotel is booked. However, there's another one that I booked rooms in for us directly across the street.
And to be clear, what we're talking about is Thornton's Fence Business Conference, which is in December.
Yeah.
I'm not privy to the dates. I didn't get the invite. December 2nd through the 4th.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. And that is at the Hilton Promenade at Branson Landing in Branson, Missouri. Sounds like the Hilton Promenade is full, but there are other lodging options in the area.
So when I called and talked to them, they actually say promenade, I believe.
Well, promenade.
So
promenade.
Now, the person I talked to, I don't think English was their native language. So I don't know if that's official.
And that's what I said. Is I think it depends on where you are.
Yeah.
Because I think it's an old English word.
All right.
And obviously,
isn't it weird?
It was something else.
Isn't it weird that there's these words we all just say different? Such a strange thing.
Addendum. Those words. Even.
Yeah, right.
I say those sometimes.
Yeah.
All right, and then Fence Tech 2025 is coming up. We had our little planning meeting.
We did.
Earlier this week or last week.
Mm-hmm.
Started getting geared up.
Look at us, man. Already.
First time we started playing that early.
Yeah,
we're doing it.
I think so.
And it seems like it's on autopilot. I wouldn't say autopilot exactly, but assisted driving.
You do a few of the trade shows and you kind of get a little rhythm
get the hang of it and have some ideas of what types of swag and goodies to give away.
Yep.
Who's going, where the stuff is we had from the last show. I got smart and labeled all the boxes.
Yep. And we actually put them all in a place instead of some here, there, and yonder. So, yeah.
Right. So that's what we're doing. You got anything, Simpalo story of the week?
So I had a meeting, a kickoff meeting with the developers to start on adding some new features and doing some updates and fixes and things like that.
Cool.
So, not a really exciting story, but it is exciting for me because that means there's new features on the horizon, and that's always cool.
So since this episode is about software, I'm going to take just a little bit of time to say what Simpalo is. Simpalo is a software that you came up with, your idea, and with a team of developers, you have produced a software that aids us here at Memphis Fence Company in commercial fence bidding.
Yep.
And some of the features that stand out, search features, good. That's not limited to Simpalo by any means, but it is a handy thing. You can do a takeoff, and in doing the takeoff, if you choose the product that you want, there are several products already pre-built in the software, you can have a material list just like that, just by doing the takeoff.
Yeah, so the takeoff you do normally on a plan, right?
Right.
And so in Simpalo, you can upload a full plan set, 600,000 pages, whatever. And
Sorry, yeah, I talk to people like they know already. You
Yeah.
know? So
that's where the search is useful when you have
upload
a
a
big
plan set. Say you got 300 pages. Use the search feature and type in some words. And hopefully, if you type in fence, the word reference isn't on your plan set
yeah.
anywhere.
Was that you or
That was
Claiborne?
Claiborne. That's a good story. We could tell that story.
Yeah, there we go.
So Claiborne is an estimator here who estimates general contractor work. So mostly, only thing he does really is look at plans and uses the crud out of Simpalo to search plan sets to determine even first if it's something that we want to upload into our other software. And so as part of that, we often search FENC just because that covers a lot of versions of fencing, thereabouts. And so Claiborne uploaded or searched a plan set, hundreds of pages or something, 231 pages or something, and it put in FENC for the search criteria and got ping 231 pages of fence.
Yeah.
And come to find out, at the top corner of every page that was pinged was the word reference.
Yeah.
So
that's pretty funny. I've never experienced
maybe
that
before. Maybe it was ENCE. I just spelled reference quickly in my head when I said it, and that FENC doesn't fit.
Somehow he got reference.
Either way.
Something
So
like
maybe
that.
a typo, but either way, it's a funny story, you know? So he was scrounging 230 pages looking for fence and found none.
Because he maybe spelt fence wrong.
Maybe.
He forgot to look at his shirt.
When he told me the story, I didn't even put it together that the words were mixed up. Maybe he just left off the F. Either way, it's a funny story, you know, entertaining. Much better than the one I have, which is basically I used Simpalo today.
Nice.
I haven't actually had the need to use it in a week maybe or two or something like that, nearing 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So yeah, I used it again today, and I actually did not upload a plan set. I uploaded a hand drawing that was collected by an estimator on a site visit. He drew it. I uploaded it in Simpalo. I set a scale, and I normally start with just number 1 and then go back in and with the actual field measurements, adjust the field measurements to be reflected on my takeoff.
Right.
And that helps. And what I use that for is to calculate the number of post panels and brackets needed for prefabricated ornamental fence. Yeah.
It does.
Works pretty good.
It does that well.
That's my Simpalo story for the day.
Thank you, Zach. Thanks for sharing that with us. I put, we do this little tool time thing. I just decided this whole episode is about tools, right? So I didn't really feel like there was a big need to.
Now it's time for Tool Time with Dan, the Tool Man, Turbyville.
That was
the whole episode.
Yeah, the whole episode is just tool time. But
sit down, strap in, get your safety hats on, your hard hats on, and safety vets, and roll out your plan sets, because here we come with tools that'll help you do your job.
Yeah, indeed.
That may or may not be considered tools by some.
Depends on who you ask. It's the tools we use.
Oh man, I don't want to tell the story of the grumpy old man who refuses to use software today. That's the most I want to talk about it.
No,
because I was one, you know.
Yeah. No. We're skipping on past that. So
I like it.
But before we get into software and tools and things like that, we have to enjoy butchering a word of Italian.
Yes, one of my favorite segments of the show.
So
now it's time for Italian Word of the Week with Ilaria Pisoni. Welcome. Are you here?
Yeah.
Welcome. Where have you been?
Hello.
Taking pictures.
Thank you for gracing us with your presence, your magical presence. I heard you like twinkle into the room. How do you do that? When you come in like that?
It's an Italian thing.
That's amazing. So all Italians sound like that when they enter the room?
No, just me.
Oh, okay.
It's copyrighted. That sound is copyrighted.
Oh, good. Cool. So the Italian, you got one?
Yeah. Software.
That's 2 words probably.
Do they have that in Italian?
So we actually use the word software. We just say like software, but we also use.
Oh my God!
There is another
Meatball.
There's another one that we use. That is programma.
That's just program with an A at the end.
I'm the worst at randomly choosing words that sound the same.
I think I'm gonna start going in the agenda and just like change the word last minute.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, and make it difficult.
Yeah.
Right. Like here's one they'll never get.
Exactly.
Do you have a good one off the top of your head?
Bird.
Bird. Nailed it. Moving on.
I was actually, you know what I was about to say. Canarino.
What?
Canarino.
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 Okay, that was good for both of you.
I like how my voice gets like all. It still does it.
Canarino. Like you're a cartoon all of a sudden.
Yeah.
You get an Italian. That's the only Italians we know are cartoons. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? It's like, or cartoon
Well,
like.
except Ilaria.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, true. You're a real. Ilaria is in fact a real person.
Most of the time.
Wouldn't it be funny if she was just like AI
I
voice
mean,
generated person?
Some of our audience may have seen Ilaria and can vouch that she does exist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe.
She comes to trade shows.
Yes.
So if you don't believe Ilaria is real, come by our booth at FinStech in 2025 and you can say hello.
Cool. What's carrot in Italian?
What's what?
Carrot.
Cool.
The vegetable.
Oh, carota.
No, that's yeah.
I like the bird one.
I know bird was good. I just thought carrot is really weird in Spanish. That's
Katarina.
That's what I was saying. Yeah, Katarina.
All right.
Caramello.
Is that
Okay,
caramel?
now it's time for software. Programma.
All right. So
I got an idea.
all right.
Let's
all right.
get to the topic of the show.
Let's get to it, man. Everyone is just patiently waiting.
Except
everyone.
me.
Except we're just having fun.
That's right.
Yeah.
So people do and they ask a lot about software.
Yeah, like I said, the
for
Facebook
various
groups.
tasks.
And so AFA's forum is called the member community. And it is set up kind of like a old school forum. Where
That's cool.
Yeah. So
that was what people did before Facebook. Was
probably even like, before MySpace, before Facebook.
That's what it was.
When that's all. That was the thing you had.
That's what there was. That's right. Cool.
I knew someone who made a forum once. It was called the Fence Forum. Like probably in I don't know, 2002 or something like
the
that.
Fence for who? Forum.
We got that fence forum.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, welcome Memphis Fence. Got that fence forum. What y'all need?
Yep. All right. So I think AFA did a tech summit. They've done several other summits, so you can check out some other topics like consulting and things like that if you're interested. But they called it the tech summit, and there was 9 different software people who went on there and talked about their software. And I think we all had like 15 minutes a piece or so.
And then shortly thereafter, we had almost all of them on the show.
Yeah. So we invited whoever wanted to come on the show. So you can go back to early this year and you can see some episodes with a handful of the software folks where we talked about their software, among other things. But you also can go see the Tech Summit if you don't want to go through and schedule demos with everybody, but you are looking for some software that's kind of not necessarily specific, but at least widely used maybe in the fence industry. So
has awareness of the fence trade.
That's right. If you talk to them, they know what a fence is.
Right.
So yeah, that's cool.
And we got a link somewhere, and
we got a link in the description for that, Ilaria.
Yes.
All right. So there's a link in the description that will take you to recordings from the Tech Summit.
Yep.
The AFA Tech Summit that has 9 different softwares. One of Dan, you did a presentation on Simpalo. There's ArcSight was one. Fence Cloud was one.
Yeah.
You got some. Can you help me ramble off a couple more?
I'm enjoying this.
Okay.
True. My salesman.
I don't know. True. My salesman. I'm familiar with my salesman.
Elite Technique.
Elite Technique. Yes. Good.
There was 9.
There were bunches.
We got a lot in there.
If you want to know, just click the link. And they'll all be
Contract Accelerator.
Yeah.
Don't leave them out.
No, for sure. But if you click the link, they're all in there. That was I think about a year ago.
Yep.
And so, softwares change all the time. The new features, updates, things like that, but it'll at least give you an idea of what they did.
So we're going to talk about a wide array of software that we use. Some of it is not in fact, I think we use more software that's not fence specific than fence specific software.
Yeah, for sure. So the majority of it, and it's going to be such a wide array, the biggest array you've ever seen. And like Zach said, most of it is
So-
not fence specific. In fact, we have nothing in today's show that is fence specific.
Save for the mention of Sao Paulo.
Yeah.
So just a moment. I'm going to take a brief moment. Say we are live. And if we're talking about any software that you have input on or questions about or just want to call, I mean, it may be in part 2 of the episode, but if you want to call us now and jump ahead in our outline, who cares? Give us a call, 901-878-4987.
Yeah.
Is that 901?
Yeah, 901-878-4987.
Good deal.
We used to do that every time, and now we kind of just cruise past it. It is on the bottom of the screen, at least. So
cool.
I mainly
Well, let's get into
remember
this.
that.
We do some, as a business, you do have accounting needs.
We do.
Certain things like payroll.
We do. So, funny story along those lines. So when I bought Memphis Fence in 2013, for those of you who don't know, I bought Memphis Fence Company, or bought the assets, whatever, from my dad. And the way that accounting was done at that point was, if you wanted to know the current balance in the account, you went and looked at a legal pad that sat in the office of the secretary. And every time she would deposit money, she would put the total of the deposit for the day.
Was just using like a steno pad as a bank ledger, basically.
Yeah. And it was just laying on her desk. Like, if you wanted to know, you just went up there and looked. And then I guess once or twice a year, some people would come from a CPA firm and they would sit in here for a week or two and they would go through a bunch of stuff.
Boxes of receipts and
right. And they would figure out how to turn that into some financials that they prepared. And there was some like super archaic computer system that was like the old AS400 green screen kind of deal. And we would put like invoices, and that's how we sold wholesale material, was through that thing. Like it was wild. And so immediately upon deciding to buy the fence company, I was like, okay, day one, we're going to have some other accounting software in place. Some accounting software in place. This is not going to work. And so there was some software that they had purchased and had never actually implemented that was kind of ran parallel with the 1990 system. And so we tried to go down that path, and we spent about half a day with a lady who was training us. And I'll never forget, as long as I live, this lady got up and she went to leave for lunch. And I looked at the 3 or 4 other people sitting in the room with me, and I said, we're not doing this. This is not what we're going to do. I said, hey, go sign up for QuickBooks. And when she comes back, we're going to tell her, never mind. And so by the time she came back from lunch, we had signed up for QuickBooks and started setting up our stuff in there. And she came back and we're like, yeah, we're not going down this path. Thanks for your time. And that's kind of how that went. So we almost got painted into a corner with some stuff that we didn't actually want, and that was super complicated. It was like one of those custom built softwares that was not built for like selling to people, right? It was like somehow I guess my dad or whoever had like hired this company to build or to like tailor a software specific to the company or something like that, but it was not user friendly at all. And like if we hired a new person, man, it would have taken like the first 3 days they worked here to teach them how to log in. It was painful.
Right.
But
so you guys landed with QuickBooks Enterprise, which is what we're using now.
Yep. So it is a desktop version of QuickBooks, and they used to have several different desktop versions, and they basically killed all their desktop stuff and forced people to go to the online version. The Enterprise desktop version is not there yet. They, as of now, haven't announced any plans to kill it that I'm aware of. It will definitely happen one day, but not today.
Yeah.
So,
and some of how that works, the process of how we use it, at least, you got starting with the estimate. I often start with adding the job first.
Yeah.
And so we can add a job. Once the job sells, obviously, we can add it. We assign job numbers. It's how we keep track of jobs, and that helps to give the guys something to allocate their time to, so we can manage billable hours and things of that nature. So we start with the job. Then once you build the job, you have a hierarchical view where you can add an estimate. And the estimate is basically, like, you know what an estimate is. It's the estimate.
Yeah, but it's not an estimate in the traditional sense, like that you would prepare and give to the customer,
That's true.
right? Because we only do it after the job is sold. But we still start at the estimate level in QuickBooks because you can see reports like your estimated versus actual cost.
Right.
And then it'll track like how much money, revenue that you put in the estimate versus what you build and things like that. And so that's why we start at the estimate level.
Right. So we use QuickBooks also for invoicing,
Yep. So
tracking of sales orders, credit card purchases.
yeah. Oh yeah. There's a whole list of stuff. So
a
like,
lot of stuff.
so on the estimate, we have a group.
Right.
Right. And so this group has everything broken down into these different line items that are all out. They're all tied to some income account or some expense account or something like that. So we don't have to do any of that kind of stuff manually. It divvies out the money when the job is invoiced to where it needs to go.
And we've talked a bit about, like, obviously I'm using it the way it is now, but I guess you guys you kind of dove deeper into that separation of revenue at some point over the past couple years, or?
Yeah, so the revenue separation really is like, obviously we have a top line revenue, right? That's the total of the jobs. And then from there, we have it separated out by class. And so we have, I don't know, 6 or 8 different classes or something like that.
And a couple examples being ornamental, commercial, and then wholesale.
Yeah.
And it goes further than that, but those are a few for reference.
Yeah. And so depending on what class it is, you can run P&Ls and things like that in QuickBooks, and you can see everything separated out by its class. And then, so some of the items will then, like I said, the group has a bunch of items in it, right? And so if an item is, let's say, subcontract cost, so then when we get a bill from a subcontractor, it's entered as that same item, and it's, then we put the job number and everything in it. And so QuickBooks knows that it was that line item on the revenue side, and it knows it was that line item on the cost side.
Right.
So that's how you can see your estimated versus actuals. And then
much better process than just having a pile of receipts that are considered expenses for a job or cost of goods sold, either whatever you call that in that circumstance, and just subtracting it from your total to get a balance.
So I remember in the olden days, I once sold a job. Well, more than once, but I once decided I wanted to know if we actually made money on a job. Because you'd always hear this like, oh man, we made good money on that job. And then
which means the guys came back early that day.
Right. And
how do you know, right?
You'd hear about another job and it's like, oh, we didn't do so good on that job. And I was
which means they worked late that.
Right. And so as I progressed along, I was like, wait a minute, how in the world does anybody know? Like, you really don't know if you made money on that job or not without, I mean, when I go to buy material, like I'll often look at my estimate and say, okay, this is how much money I put in it for material versus how much we're actually spending. Right.
For sure.
But so, I mean, you kind of get a feel for it with stuff like that. And then, like if the guys came in earlier, if they stayed out late, like, there's an idea. But I once decided I wanted to actually know, did we make money on a job? So I started building this spreadsheet, and I went through the receipts and I went through the paychecks and tried to do my best to like get all of the labor and all of the cost and everything and put it into a spreadsheet. And man, it's been some years ago, but in my memory, like I spent 2 or 3 days working on this thing, and I don't think I ever finished it, like collecting all of the data. And I just moved on to the next thing I needed to do. Right. It was like I was out of time that I could spend on that. And so now having QuickBooks in place, and QuickBooks is not the only thing that can do this stuff, right? We're just talking about what we use. So, but having QuickBooks in place,
you wouldn't want to offend any other software.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. I know they're all listening to this. So, but no, having QuickBooks or some other accounting system in place, like now you just go to the job and you click job profitability, and boop, there's a report.
Right.
Right. And so, I mean, it's just so different, right? It's crazy. So anyways, we did the estimate. Obviously when we build a job, we convert the estimate to an invoice. And if we're doing like progress billing for GCs and stuff that's done on AIA billing forms or the GC specific billing forms or something, then we basically try to make those match.
Right.
And so we'll duplicate that GC billing form onto our invoice in QuickBooks. So now we can see the revenue. right? Because like we want that revenue captured that month. We don't want to wait until the check comes in or wait till the job's done and put in one bill or whatever. I want it captured that month. And so then we can also see like our AR side of things. We can kind of track job costing on projects as we go along. So when you get to the end of the year and you have to do your work in progress entries, like now you have current billings that have been put in so you can, work on that stuff. So one thing that QuickBooks has that we don't use is sales orders. So a sales order is a step in between the estimate and the invoice. And it's kind of cool if you do use it, because then when you convert an estimate to a sales order, QuickBooks knows that job is sold and it'll like allocate your stock material to that job.
Right. For me, I'm kind of like, I don't use a lot of stock material though.
Mhm.
So I'm doing just in time shipping basically. So
Yeah.
um,
Heck yeah.
the sales orders for me, I'm kind of like, there's a couple of items that I'll use that are stock items, but for the most part,
Right.
it's all special order.
Right.
So
Yeah. And so within QuickBooks, there's then reports that are like, I don't even remember what it's called because we don't really use it. I have seen it and played around with it some, but it's like a stock status report. I think that's what it is. And it'll allow you to go in there and basically you can see the quantity on hand, the quantity on sales order, quantity on purchase order, quantity available. And so you can see, if you sell a job, you can go look at that and be like, oh crap, we don't have enough material to fill this.
right.
And it will actually, you can run reports in there and it'll tell you how much of everything you need to order. You can put like preferred vendors and stuff and it'll auto generate POs. Like it has a lot of potential there that we're honestly just not using. And maybe one day we will. So man, it feels like it's just getting deep.
QuickBooks is going to last all day. We also
Yeah.
use it for payroll, which is how we can track time allocated to jobs, which then enables us to, again, check job costing. It does taxes. Sometimes it does taxes twice. Workers' compensation, et cetera, when you run payroll.
Yeah. Yeah. And so it kind of, once you have all that stuff set up, like it'll do it by itself. Right. And so you basically put everybody's workers comp code on their like employee
Right.
file and it just does it. So pretty cool stuff. We already talked a little bit about purchase orders, right? So we do enter those into QuickBooks. So on the
while we're talking about payroll real quick, we're currently tracking time. We have a time clock.
Mhm.
Well, we have 2 time clocks actually.
We do. We have 3. Oh no, we only have 2. Sorry.
We have 2 now.
Yeah.
We've had more.
Yeah. Right.
One is a fingerprint. One is just their old school time card punch thing. And so in addition to that, we have the employees fill out a time sheet to designate what job they're working on, which does not, neither one of those processes directly integrates with QuickBooks. But that is something that we've talked about. That is a service that I think QuickBooks offers. It used to be called T-Sheets. Now it's called QuickBook Time, I think.
Yep.
Where you could assign the job numbers that are already existing from when you make the job and input the estimate. That way the employee could clock in directly to those jobs. And that's one thing that is part of the processes that we've talked about implementing to make it easier. Because I tell you what, when it's time to enter payroll, you've got a bunch of handwritten timesheets that may or may not have been filled out completely or have the right job numbers.
Yep.
And then you get into, if we're doing job costing based on numbers that the guys hand wrote or wrote down based off their memory, are we actually accurately collecting accurate data? So that's an area that we have a little bit of room to improve, I think.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I mean, I can tell you, I've ran payroll myself, like a handful of times, and it's a all day ordeal,
right,
to go through all the timesheets and get them entered and run down the data.
Hey, call Tony.
Yeah.
And see, where was he on last Friday or the 2 Fridays ago or what? Like Friday at 9 p.m. or 9 a.m. It's like, I don't know where I've sent them.
And then it's like, oh, I know, I'll look at the GPS. So then you're like trying to pull GPSs on the trucks to see where they were. And
so wild.
It's such a mess.
Look, there's an area we've talked a lot about process and softwares. And I think here's an area where we could probably benefit from some new software.
So we have for about, 3 months or something like that now. we've been here and there progressing towards implementing QuickBooks, Tom.
That's right.
And so we have some iPads that we got, and we've got them all set up for some of the crew leaders. And we're just keep pushing that pebble a little bit, so to speak.
Right. Well, I mean, we have people in our employ that have worked here since before cell phones.
Oh yeah.
So to hand them an iPad and say this is now part of your job is maybe don't a little bit intimidating.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So we have people that are like, oh, I remember when we got fax machines, you know?
So
yeah.
It's a thing,
Yeah.
But that's not to say that it can't be done.
It takes time, man. So
don't say it. They'll call.
They're already calling. So Isaac says, busy for the win on the clocking in app. We looked at that, last year?
Yeah.
Yeah.
A few times. I met him in person at a trade show. And then I entertained a couple of phone calls. I think we did a Zoom meeting with them even.
Yeah. Did we? Maybe. The craziest
I'll tell
story.
You what busy is persistent.
I will tell you what.
Good salespeople.
They have the best salespeople, right? Someone.
Amanda.
Good thing you didn't forget Contract Accelerator earlier, because Amanda's here.
I didn't forget.
Thanks for stopping by.
We should have Amanda again on the show. I enjoyed her episode.
Yeah. All right. We'll make it happen. Oh, like Ilaria. Make it happen.
I will.
So if Amanda's open to it. Why, thank you. It actually is just because I haven't cut it and it's super annoying. Amanda said she's loving the beard. Excuse me. So I guess someone in our office went on the busy website.
It was me.
And I promise you, they called. Like, it felt like it was within 10 minutes. They called and they're like, hey, I saw you were on our website.
So I was saying, don't say their name.
That's creepy.
It's crazy. I don't even know how they did it. I was just impressed that they called and they're like, oh, I saw you on our website. Like, what? That's some Big Brother stuff. So
we walked through payroll.
Yeah.
Use it for, I said purchase orders earlier. I kind of skipped ahead. So we do use it for purchase orders.
So I want to tie this whole material inventory thing into one sequence, right?
Let's get it.
And so when we order material, we put it in a purchase order. And
right.
So that purchase order, then we use the job number that we've assigned to the job so that QuickBooks knows that's for that job.
Right.
Right. And then once the material comes in, we do an item receipt
yep.
So we convert the purchase order to an item receipt. And then we put in all the items that we receive. So if it's actually a list of stock items, we put the quantities we receive. If it's one big lump sum special order thing, we receive one of those, right? And then from there, we roll it all the way through. And that's what we use to pay the bills to the vendors, right? So you enter it once on the PO, convert it to an item receipt. Then QuickBooks will show you that that's I'm not 100% sure on this, but somehow it shows it in the balance that you owe the vendor. I don't know if it actually goes into your AP until you get a bill, but it does show it as a balance that you owe the vendor. So it knows as soon as you receive the items that there's going to be a bill coming, and then we use that to pay the bills. So that's kind of the sequence of the purchasing side of inventory. So you see, like I said, I wanted to kind of make that a flow through. So
counter sales, wholesale customers.
Yep. That's it.
That's pretty straightforward.
It is.
If you've ever been anywhere and shopped and you got a little receipt with a little table at the top of it, it was probably came out of QuickBooks, and that's how we do it.
So they have a point of sale system, and I think I talked to someone from QuickBooks maybe about their point of sale stuff, and they started asking questions about what we do, and they're like, "Nah, what you're doing is better. You don't need the point of sale."
Cool.
I was like,
"Thanks."
Right, cool.
Got any ideas for time clocks?
Right. So we've been playing around, budgeting, right, is a thing. And so we've been playing around a little bit with budgeting, and I started playing with the tools that are built into QuickBooks. So it does have some stuff to kind of help you create a budget. I basically took previous P&Ls and sent them out of QuickBooks into Excel and started trying to do it in there. I don't know what happens if you build a budget. I'm sure there's reporting to where you can compare your budgeted numbers to your actual numbers and stuff like that. Of course, being an accounting system, it does financial reporting. So you can get, your P&L, balance sheets, job costing, stuff like that. Job costing is a big deal, right? And we don't look at every single job, right? We don't Some of the jobs we will look at specifically if we have like a good or bad feeling or something like that. But, we're not the best at sitting there looking at every single job necessarily. But I do run that job profitability summary. I like that
Right.
report. And so it'll give you like every job that we have either cost or revenue on for the month. So that's one that we kind of use as like a really high level job costing on every job. And then any other financial reports and stuff like that, really, you can think of will come out of there. So,
Yeah. Financial reports galore.
yeah, all of them, all the
And then
reports.
various customize the report any way you want, really.
And that's important. Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's cool too. So I've used the online version of QuickBooks for a few, like for Simpalo, for instance, it has an online version of QuickBooks. And it's pretty solid. It doesn't do all the reporting and as detailed as the enterprise version, but I mean, if you weren't looking to like really get super specific, then you could run the online version and that'd be good. All right. So that's it for QuickBooks.
All righty.
Man,
Now we're going to get into an array of things.
a wide array. I told you it was going to be such a wide array.
We use Monday.com.
Oh, and Monday's more to talk about than QuickBooks even is.
Yeah, I barely use it. I'm just kidding.
We use
I'm
it a
just kidding.
lot, man.
I'm just kidding.
I in doing like Simpalo demos and stuff like that, I frequently talk to people about our processes and our softwares and all of that. And so it never fails that I mention Monday to people. And they're like, and it's like, what do we do in Monday? We do everything in Monday. Like there's so many things. As I was creating this list right here, I was like, I don't even know, like, how long is it going to take just to talk about Monday?
Yeah.
Hopefully 23 minutes.
Locate calendar, Monday.
Yeah. And it gives you notifications when your locate needs to be updated.
New lead forms.
Monday.
Okay.
Yeah.
Walking through the step-by-step from new lead to when it becomes converted to a sale. All that prior to entering it into QuickBooks happens in Monday.
Yeah. It's crazy. It's crazy what it can do.
Yeah. Auto-generate emails.
Mhm. Yeah.
Reply to customers via Monday so that all
Yeah.
of it's cataloged there with their customer profile, basically.
Mm-hmm. Amanda says Trello. Is Trello like Monday? I know there's a few softwares out there that are kind of like Monday, like they pretty much are set up similar. So the Monday's kind of a bit like Excel though, right? You start and it's just a blank slate. And so you kind of have to build it out to be what you want it to be.
Yeah, and kind of learn the functions, how it can work for you. And
Yeah.
it's kind of a weird thing too, because you can actually get down pretty far down a path with a board and then say, oh, I missed a step, kind of.
Yeah.
Or at least one that I would like to have. But the beauty of it is that you can keep that board and just build another one. And then transfer information to the new one.
Right.
Of.
And
that's what I do.
We have a lot of boards that we built and thought were a great idea, and they just sit there. Yeah. So similar to Monday, but very flexible and customizable.
I think Monday's very flexible and customizable.
I can tell you there's about a 0.1% chance I'm ever interested in moving all the things in Monday. And I'm sure
we're in there now, man.
I'm sure Trello and other people like have some kind of system that just moves it all, right? So you don't have to recreate it. But so along the lines of you like missing a step. So I played around with workflows in Monday when it first came out. And it was exactly like that. If you started building out the workflow and you missed a step, then you would have to delete everything below it and then put in that step and then continue on. It was really annoying. It kind of frustrated me and I just skipped it. So Isaac says Job Nimbus. A lot of companies use it. Indeed,
that's the one that I always forget.
Yeah.
I can never remember the name.
Yeah.
We looked at it and it didn't really fit for our needs, but I actually modeled my next job flow or workflow after the Job Nimbus style.
No, Job Nimbus is solid. There was like one little thing in their integration with QuickBooks that wouldn't work right for us. And for me, it was kind of like, no. Right.
So, I like the ability to generate an estimate and an invoice in Job Nimbus from the new lead information, which that's one thing that Monday It does for me now, but I had to use an integration with a third-party app, and it's working okay, but it's not really perfect. And
Yeah.
so I still, once it generates kind of loosely my quote or proposal, I still open it up in Adobe and kind of rearrange it to look like I want it to look.
Yeah.
If that makes
Kinda
sense. So all
polish it a little bit.
yeah, all the info's there, but it's kind of like loosely placed. So what it does is you upload a template, a Word document template, and then it will auto populate that a PDF based on the Word document template that you put in. So things get kind of like it's
A
just
little off.
yeah, it'll be like not quite on the line or sitting on the line, so the line kind of strikes through the text or whatever. And so, you know,
Yeah. So what was really cool to me about Job Nimbus is you enter the lead once when they're a lead.
right.
And it goes all the way from there. It goes to the estimate. It goes to the invoice, all of that. It had a two-way sync with QuickBooks. So your estimate would also be into QuickBooks. Your invoice would also be in QuickBooks most of the time, except us. Amanda says the Contractor Accelerator also does that very well. They have a very customizable bid PDF.
Okay.
Shameless plug. All right. So let's try to run through this Monday.com stuff, right? So on the CRM side, we use it for some of that. It does not do it as well as real CRMs are going to do it. To me, in my opinion, right? There's some things that are missing from Monday, but because we do such a wide array of things in there, I'm kind of dismissive of the shortcomings because it has so much stuff going on, if that makes sense. So, like we talked about, enter the lead in there, schedule appointments. It does automated follow-up emails. You can get not really like reports that it's going to create, but you can build stuff in there to get data out of it. So like we can track closing rates. You can see the workload of your sales reps.
And these are things we're actually using it for.
Yeah.
We said we were going to talk about the software we use. And so I think it's important to designate these are the ways we're using it.
Yep.
I've wanted to do text messages. I didn't get that. So I don't use it for that. I do use it for follow-up emails.
So the text message thing, it's a kind of funny story to me, right?
Yeah, let's hear it.
So there was like and you went down that path to try to figure out how to do text messages. There was some sort of integration that you found that would do it, right?
And
automated text.
And I used all the free ones, and then they wanted me to like send a money order to Bangladesh or whatever.
Right, like wire some money to Peru, and we're like, no, I
somewhere
don't think
that
so.
was weird.
Yeah,
seeming.
Yeah, no, it definitely seemed odd, and so that's where we stopped. But as you were going through the free stuff, it worked.
It worked well. I used two different ones, two different plugins or apps or whatever you want to call it.
Right. Yep. So, I mean, there is stuff like that. And there's a ton of integrations that you can add on that are made by other people, not, Monday, obviously.
So we use it to schedule on-site appointments, which when the appointment is scheduled, I have an automation that sends an email confirmation to the customer that designates the place, time, type of work, and like, hello, customer name.
Yeah.
And then just so they have that. It also maintains or keeps up with any of the customers. When we go out to take site visits, we upload any photos or any sort of data to that customer profile that we developed from the moment of the first lead.
Yep.
And that kind of flows through, for me, how that works is it flows through new lead to scheduled, then to estimating. And then from estimating, it will go into a moving forward phase, which I like to use as just a moment to stage it, basically to make sure I then have entered it in QuickBooks, that all my estimates are tidy, and I have all the proper documents before moving it to move forward where it actually becomes an active job.
Yeah. Yeah. Shane Catton, what's going on, man? Thanks for stopping by.
Hola, Shane.
So what I really like about that in like the whole on-site appointment thing is, there's a couple pieces of it, right? I mean, I like that it's uploaded into Monday. It's now in the cloud, like it's there forever. But I'm a huge fan of going to a meeting somewhere and just taking a phone or a tablet with me and having access to everything that I need. And so if you get one of those customers or those jobs and you're on like the second or third time going to the same site, you just pull out Monday and you have everything that you've put in there previously. And it tells you, the date and the time and who did it and all that kind of stuff, like it should,
Right.
So then once we sell the job, we do some project management stuff in Monday as well. And so you have a whole system built out for your ornamental stuff.
That's right.
And we have different systems built out depending on what department or division of the company it is.
Mine is pretty much the same. Sometimes some steps will be included and others will be redacted, but it just depends on the job, basically. So, it's the schedule of step by step where we are in the process. So, like order material, which actually that's included in the move forward stage before it goes to job. Job for me is once the material's been ordered and is in when we're starting to allocate time to the job.
Yeah.
But yeah, fabrication, coding, installation, and I found that again. Here's a weird thing where there needed to be 2 installation fields because installation is setting posts for me on custom fab work, and then fabrication, then coding, and then installation again when it's being installed.
Right. And sometimes we run into the situation where you might have to go back on 2 or 3 or 4 or 10 different occasions just to set posts too.
Right.
So, yeah. And
but that's pretty loose. It's kind of just helps us to know what phase of the project we're in. And that's just a drop down from the job when it's a job at that stage on the board. And I actually separated my boards out so that scheduling and estimating is a board. And then estimates that were sent is a board. And then the move forward and jobs in progress is a board. And that just helped it kind of tidy up for me. So I wasn't looking at all that information all the time. So if you want to know what jobs are in progress, it's right there on the one board.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there's ways to do that, to make a dashboard that they call that, where you can select to see. I mean, you could make a dashboard to see only current jobs and your locate calendar if that's something you want to do. I just haven't really found that necessary. It's not that difficult to just click the button for the other board.
Right. So you can see stuff in multiple different views, right? So you got calendar, Kanban, Gantt, all of this kind of stuff. So the dashboard thing for me, we've built Kanban.
Yeah.
Sorry. Y'all have heard me do Italian, so you know how I talk. So real quick, Jeff says that they decided to hire a developer and they created an entire CRM just for their company. I've talked to a few people that have done that, and that's a cool idea. I've never gotten to the point where I was ready to commit to developing another software because going through it once was maybe enough for my entire life.
Still going through it, basically.
Right.
Not done yet.
Right. So, but anyway, so you got a lot of different views. You can organize stuff however you want. The dashboard deal. We used it in residential. So we would get a ton of leads and we had somebody whose job it was to schedule all of these leads. And so we had a dashboard for them to where they could see all the leads to be scheduled, and then they could see the calendars of the salespeople. And so that way they could kind of have all of that in front of them at one time. And then we also used it for scheduling residential installs with different subs.
Right.
And so we had the subcontractors on Monday boards. And so any of the jobs that we scheduled for them, we basically built out a calendar of the jobs that they were doing for us. And, we would communicate with them obviously about availability and stuff like that, because we didn't really have subcontractors that exclusively work for us. And so we kind of had to put it in when they were available. But what was cool about that is having them on a board, they now could go in there and provide updates, right? And they could put pictures and they could do all that stuff on the job while they were out on site. And then the dashboard was cool because you could see your 4 or 5 different subs calendars. And then you also could see the list of jobs that you had going on to try to, put stuff where it needed to be in also. We've used dashboards a little bit, but I kind of agree with you. Most of the time, I just go to whatever board I need to get the information off of, and I'll just kind of bounce around between boards instead of spending time to make a dashboard. But anyway, so we have it set up to where when the job's done, it just gets sent to a billing board.
Yeah, I got a button where I click the button that says it's done, and it goes to done bill.
Yeah.
And that not only in Monday does it generate a notification, but it also sends an email.
Yep. So we use that in the general contractor world too. We just have a button on there that says needs a bill, right? Because we normally do progress billing, so it's not done.
Right.
But then I have another board that's just that only shows the billing part of it. Actually, it's from the same board, but and it just pops the job over there and it notifies the people as well. Hey, you need to create a bill. So, Um, so some of the stuff on here, like what we're about to talk about now, we've tried several different methods, and some things on here is stuff that we either have done in the past or intend to do. So
Disclaimer, right? These are
right,
not the things we're currently using it for.
right. So the billing board, we created one, and it would basically put all the jobs on there, and then you had to go in and tell it when you received money. Right. And so it would kind of like keep track of your AR. And then it helped us to be a little bit more proactive using automations and stuff like that for collections. Because frequently what we do is we send a bill. You never like we don't get a confirmation. We don't do a good job of being like, hey, did you get the bill? For full transparency, we're not super great at that. And we
Hire
would
us.
we
We'll
would
never bill you.
right. Uh and so we would send a bill, and then it would be like, oh, this bill's 15 days past due, let me follow up on it. Or this bill's 30 days past due, or something like that. And we would call them, and they'd say, oh, well, we never got that. Or oh yeah, that was sent to me, but it needed to be sent to Jim, whatever that was. And so by having all of that stuff ran through Monday, I felt like it kind of helped us be a little bit proactive, but it also was a lot of work, right? To get them all, make sure they're all in there right, and then to remember to go in and mark them all as paid when they were paid and stuff. And then later, so Lynn built a board that was just for collections, and so she basically took all the stuff that was past due and then put it in there. And man, she had it all dashboarded up. I don't know if you ever saw it, but she had like a llama farm on there.
Yeah.
Did you see that?
It was amazing. Like my favorite part of the week was like, how is your llama farm going?
Right.
And she was so mad sometimes. She was like, I'm full of llamas.
Yeah. And so I
Yeah.
guess as you completed tasks,
You get rid of the llamas.
right.
Yeah.
It's kind of makes it like a game, right? So for
Yep.
those of us who like to check boxes, you can deplete your llama farm.
Yep. Yep. So we've tried
Fun
several
fact,
different.
the more they stay on the farm, people have to know, the more
Yeah.
they poop.
Oh,
So you want to
no.
get rid of them.
Oh
Otherwise, it's
yeah,
going to get
that's
stinky.
bad.
So it just like creates a pile of poop on
Yeah.
the lump. Oh wow, that's crazy.
Interesting feature of Monday.
Yeah. Yeah, it is indeed. All right.
Asset tracking, we do use it to categorize and keep up with not GPS, obviously, but with purchase date, cost, serial numbers, pictures. We have all the trucks on there.
Yep.
All the equipment really is listed and tagged with a serial number, and
Yep.
that's how we keep up with all that.
Yep. So I think it's anything over like $2,500 we put in there. And so we had a welder that got stolen, and it was like, oh, I need to make a police report. Oh, well, what's the serial number? I have no idea. Right. So we didn't have a record of the serial number of that welder at all. And they would not allow us to file a police report, which meant we also could not file an insurance claim on that welder that was stolen. And so that was kind of the motivation for us to start doing a better job
So-
at tracking all that.
That one we're actually using. That's not a thing
Yeah,
we hope
yeah.
to do. That's a thing that we actually do.
Yeah, so it's all built out. And I mean, we also, not in the same place, but there's another spot in there in Monday where we put like all the phones and tablets and stuff like that when we assign them to people. And so we put the user, we put like their Apple ID, and track the serial number of all the devices that we're passing out and stuff like that. So they're basically treated the same. It's just in another spot.
We also have been working on a supply ordering dashboard or board where someone in the shop, or if someone needs a supply of some sort, they can actually just click a button that notifies
Yep.
the inventory manager to order that. We were having some overlap of ordering and having some saw blades in that room and in that room, and
Well,
you don't know you're out till you're out and things of that nature. And so in efforts to kind of manage that a little bit better.
and we also ran into that thing where it was like, hey, I need some Sawzall blades. Oh, well, which ones?
Right.
And it was like a whole ordeal to go through every time to figure out which blades you needed.
Right. So to help us kind of standardize what we order.
Mhm.
Right.
Yep. So
And that board exists. It's not really fully, it might be functional. We're just not using it to its full potential as of now.
yeah, it was one of those projects that we kind of started a few months ago and started building it out and testing it and putting, I think there's only like one or two things in there just simply to test them. And I think that's about as far as it got. So I think it is in place, and I think it does function. We just haven't built it out and actually implemented it. But I don't remember what happened. Something happened that made me decide to go do that. Right? It was like maybe some cutoff wheels or
Right.
something like that we needed to order. And it was, oh well, where do we get them? What kind are they? All of that stuff. And I was like, no, man, this is crazy. So yeah, that board's set up to where it'll send an email to whoever orders them, and it just says, "Hey," if I click the button, it would say, "Hey, Dan requested that you order 50 of such and such. Here's the link to it." So it would provide them a link to Amazon or Home Depot or wherever they come from, and it also would like track every time that they were ordered. And so then you could go on the board and you could see the last time everything was ordered. So you might adjust the quantities, right? If you're having to order them every week, maybe you order a little more. If you only order them once a year, maybe you need to order a little less. So this kind of so right now we have purchase orders in there, right? And so we put supporting documents. So we'll put like a vendor quote or an email or whatever we get to go in there. So the piece of it that we haven't actually implemented yet that we also have been working on is to do receiving based on this, right? And so I built it on my PO board just to test it, but there's a button on there to where it would send it to like a receiving board. And so the people on the yard would then have that receiving board and they would have, the PO number and the vendor and da 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 da. And so that way when the material comes in, if it comes in complete, they could go in there and mark it as received. They can take pictures of it and attach that. And then
And our current system is something like a tic-tac-toe drawn on a piece of reused computer paper, where we just say, yeah, we got a thing.
Yeah. It just, there's no information. Like, was it received in full? Did we get
It
a partial
we
shipment?
do write down the purchase order number.
Yeah. And the vendor, I think.
And then a squiggle that it just says a person offloaded it, basically.
Right.
So some of it's checked in. This stemmed from a specific incident where we got a package for a job, and there were some like 24-foot long pieces of material that weren't actually in the package. So this need was to be able to communicate to the yard guy or the receiver that this is what this package should contain.
So I'll disclose a little bit more on that. It was an Ameristar order. And so, so that, I think we talked about it maybe 6 weeks ago or so on the show. I don't know. But basically they said, oh, well, they take a picture of everything that they load when it's on the truck tied down before it leaves here. So they can easily look at the picture and tell if that part was on there. And I was like, man, that's a brilliant idea. Why don't we do that when we unload it? So, of course, them being Ameristar, like they're a big company. So it took them a little bit of time to go back through and they found the picture and they said, nope, it wasn't on there. We're sending it to you. It'll be there tomorrow. So they were definitely Johnny on the spot with that. But so that's kind of where that thing stemmed. And I think Donnie, I don't know if he's still doing it, but there for a little bit, like he would go out and he would take pictures of stuff before it was unloaded.
I think he's still doing it.
Okay.
And that's his regular thing.
All right. So that's what he does now. I didn't know if it became like a habit or if it was something that he did a few days and then was like,
it's easy to do that, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's easy to have an incident and everybody kind of straightens up for a little while to to make it better, and then it's easy to kind of slip back into the old non-process or whatever.
Yeah. So I don't know if Alyssa's still ordering, but I think, or still listening, but I think we actually ordered an iPad, like a little mini iPad or something like that, right? Because we talked about what kind of device to use, either a phone or a little iPad or something. So that's another kind of work in progress thing
that'll essentially function as the receiving kiosk.
Yeah. Yep.
All being tied back into the original purchase order board for the person who purchased. They can see if it's been received.
Yeah. So we also have that iPad just collecting dust. So we've got a lot of improvements and things going on that are kind of halfway done.
Yeah.
Is what we're confessing to the world right now.
Yeah.
So
we talked a little bit about the dashboards and what that enables you to do, but now you told me you had an epiphany and thought, I have all these comments, questions, bugs, ideas for Simpalo, and it just recently occurred to you to make a board for that.
Yeah. So if you are a Simpalo subscriber, over on the left-hand side in that blue ribbon, there's like a request a video, report a bug. There's a few buttons like that are links to Monday board or Monday forms. And if you fill those out, it gets added onto a Monday board and it notifies me that something was added. And so the thing that I had the epiphany about was creating a board for the developers.
Right.
Right. And so I just did that, as where before I would made like Excel spreadsheets and just shared that with them. And basically the Excel spreadsheet would be a big list of things that I wanted them to work on. Right. And then we do a lot of communication just in a Teams chat. So we have like a group chat with the developers that I talk to them a lot. But I mean, the problem is like you put something in there and then it's 2 weeks later or a month later or whatever when they work on it and they just have to scroll. Like you got to scroll all the way up through there and then you're like, oh crap, what was that again? And like, just kind of like not really being able to remember all the details of it and stuff. So yeah, this week I made a board in Monday and it lists out all the things I want them to do. It has it prioritized. I have like screenshots and videos attached to some of the things. I have YouTube video links. I frequently make videos and upload them hidden on YouTube or unlisted or whatever, and use that to communicate with the developers. And so all of that's in there. It has they're guests, right? They're not paid users, same as like our subcontractors were and all that stuff. But we have it set up to where they can go in and they can put updates and they can put notes and things like that. It does have a spot for time tracking. So that's kind of cool. If you have like developers that you're paying by the hour, you can actually look and see how much time they've spent on everything. So yeah, I like it. So far it's working out. It's everything all in one place and that's super cool.
Yeah, it works pretty good.
Yeah.
I mean, it's doing what we need it to do. And I think, and then when I determine there's another facet of things I want it to do for me, it's not that hard to figure out.
Yeah.
I've worked a lot with the tech team
Mm-hmm.
when things weren't working, and it's pretty easy to get stuff resolved. And it's actually pretty, I say, user friendly.
Yeah.
There's a lot of resources available if you need to learn how to do a thing or just, so it's pretty easy for me. I'm not like a programmer, or wouldn't consider myself like I don't know, tech guru by any means, but
right.
It works pretty good.
Yeah.
So
yep. So I agree. It works pretty well. It does a lot of things for us. Like I said earlier, there's things that it doesn't do perfectly. And there's like pieces of, the CRM stuff and things like that we find to be missing. But because it does so many things for us, we're kind of dismissive of it. And I like their automations, right? So that's one of the things that, like you mentioned, user friendly. That's one of the things that's always felt super user friendly to me was building automations, just the way it kind of like visually flows through the steps and stuff. It's pretty cool. But anyways, so that's like a real high level overview of QuickBooks and Monday.
Yeah.
So 2 little pieces of the puzzle. And 3 years from now, we'll be all the way through this.
Thank you all for joining us this evening.
Yeah. Thank you.
I'm like a talk. I don't know what I am. Thank you all for joining us this evening, this fine evening. But sincerely, thank you all for joining us this evening, and for all who have
stopped by and said hello.
Thank you, Dan. Thank you, Ilaria. Pleasure doing this with you guys every time. I sure enjoy it. And to you listeners, I will extend the invitation. Anything you want to hear us talk about, anything that you think we said that was not right. Whatever I invite you to call, comment, email, reach out to us, make yourself available to be on the show, any of those things. So we ultimately are doing this for the exchange of knowledge, and without you guys, we can't do that. So the invitation is extended as usual, always open.
That's right. It's always there. And we're pretty easy to find. We all these things behind us all have email addresses and stuff,
and they're there.
Yeah.
Right. So
now Memphis Fans even has Instagram, so we're literally everywhere.
Oh wow. Good job, Ilaria.
Yeah.
It's all around you.
Yeah. We'll find you eventually.
So
everyone.
You're definitely going to find us if you look for us.
All righty. Thanks everybody. Till next time. Thanks for joining in.
Thank you, Zach. Thanks for joining us.
Goodbye.
Goodbye, everyone.